Hey Stitch Cutie, it's Brittany with Stitches of Love Quilting, and this is the video tutorial for making the Fall Squirrel Itsy Bitsy using your embroidery machine. Now you can make it without embroidery machine and use your regular sewing machine and do a buttonhole stitch or a straight stitch, but again, this tutorial is for the embroidery version. So what you'll do is you'll open your kit and you'll gather all the threads that you need. So let's just review the tools. So you have your little piece, which is the little hanging sleeve on the back. We'll set that aside. You have your binding, which is a single fold binding. We'll set that aside. Then you have the front and back of your Itsy Bitsy, which are the same fabric. I'm just gonna give them a press and make sure they're not wrinkled. Just make sure both pieces are ready. And I'm gonna keep one out, and that is going to be the piece for the back of the mug rug. And then we have one piece of fusible batting. We don't need that yet, so we'll set it aside. You'll have all your pre-fused laser cut applique pieces. Go on and peel the backing off the back of them and have those ready in a little bowl. And then let's talk about the fun thread colors we're gonna use. So we have white, brown, gold, orange, and green. So I like to use sulky 40 weight rayon threads on my embroidery machine, and then I use just a standard pre-wound white bobbin for my bobbin. So we have white 1001, then we have brown, which is 1130. Then my favorite golden yellow color, which is 0567. Then we have the orange, which is 1168, and green, which is 1278. So these are the thread colors we're gonna use for this project. I'll get them ready. Now in front of me, you'll see I have my Steady Betty. I like to have that there because it's a nice workspace for ironing on my applique pieces. And I have my iron, my little Steam Fast travel iron. It's great for working with machine applique, especially when you're doing machine embroidery applique. It's great for ironing on those little pieces. And then I have my 5x7 hoop. So what you're gonna do is load a medium tearaway stabilizer into your hoop, put that on, load your white thread, and then open the file for the back of your Itsy Bitsy, and then we'll be back to put the first step on. So the first step that stitches for the back is a little rectangle right in the center of your stabilizer. So what you're gonna do is take the fabric for the back of your Itsy Bitsy and you're gonna put it on there, and it's gonna cover that stitch line. Now the fabric we give you in your kit is way more than you need. So you're just gonna put that over, and then I'm gonna do just a little bitty piece of tape at the top and bottom to hold it in place. Now again, I still have my white thread on, so I'm gonna put this back on. The machine is now going to do the rectangle to stabilize it here, and it's gonna do the first outline of an applique piece for the back. So what you'll see now is there is an outline of one piece. That is the flower top. So I'm gonna grab that piece from my bowl. There we go. And this is just a fun accent on the back of your Itsy Bitsy. And depending on how you hang it, it might be where it's hung, on your little act-filled thing against a wall, but maybe not. And you might get to see this. I love putting something fun on the back of everything. I just think it makes it happy. So now we're gonna put this back on, still with the white thread, and the machine is going to do an outline of the second piece of our flower. So now you have that second outline. So again, I'm gonna put it on my Steady Betty, and I'm gonna get out that applique piece. And I'm going to put my little flower petals right in place. There we go. And then you'll just iron that down. See how great this little iron is when you're working in the hoop? Love it. So now, and you can see I kind of missed the positioning. While it's still hot, you can always just sort of gently glide it. It's kind of like it hasn't sealed permanently yet. So if you get it in the wrong spot, just use your finger, or like I just use kind of the end of my scissors, and you just move it into place while it's still hot. So this is ready to be put on, and we're gonna do our first color change. We're gonna put on brown, and the machine is going to do a nice stitch right on top of our little flower. So you see how nice it did? A really perfect little stitch. Now a lot of times our files are digitized with the buttonhole stitch. However, I always make the digitizing match exactly how Mom sewed her project, so it looks exactly like her sample. So that's why we're doing the straight stitch on this. She actually did the whole thing with a basic straight stitch instead of a buttonhole stitch, just something a little different than normal. And so now we're gonna do our second and final color change of the back, and that is going to be this golden yellow color, which is the 0567. So now the back of your little Itsy Bitsy is all done. It looks great. So we're just gonna take it out of the hoop and set it aside. We'll trim it at the very end. And now we're gonna work on the front of our Itsy Bitsy. So again, I'm just gonna rehoop my stabilizer. Just a medium tearaway stabilizer, nothing fancy, just the regular stuff. And tighten that up. And what we're gonna do is switch now to the white thread again on our machine, and we're gonna prompt for the first step of the front. So just like it did with the back, the first step of the front is this nice rectangle for us. Now what we're gonna put in place is our fusible batting. You're gonna make sure the fusible side is up, and then you're going to have the background fabric, so the front of your project, and we're just gonna put that where it's over our square, and I'm gonna fuse the fabric to my fusible batting. It only takes a second. Fuses right up, and just like I did with the back, I'm gonna put just a little smidge piece of tape right there and down here. So we'll put this on again, keep the white thread in your machine, and now what the machine will do is put this in place so we know it's gonna stay secure, and it's gonna give us the first round of applique outlines. So this is what your project will look like now. You have an outline of 4 different applique pieces, so let's iron those on. We have the leaf, we have the top of our flower, then we have the big spool, and we have the tail of our squirrel. So let's get those pieces ready to iron on. So with this, none of them are layered, so you can start with any piece. And the next step, I believe we have some layered pieces. So you'll wanna sew those in the right order. So I'm just gonna put this in place. I am gonna take the tape off, so I don't wanna accidentally iron on that. It can be quite messy if you iron your tape. Then we're gonna put the spool in place. And you'll find that as you iron on, everything is a perfect fit because the same files that we use to laser cut are the same files I use when I'm digitizing, so that I know I'm getting a perfect fit. And then iron that in place, and then we have our leaf. Goes right here. There we go. Isn't it so nice not to have to trim your pieces? I love having them pre-cut, and that allows us to use, you know, either a straight stitch or a buttonhole stitch, something more lighter than a typical satin stitch you would see with embroidery. So now we're gonna put this back on. Again, keep that white thread on your machine, and now your machine is gonna do a whole bunch more pieces outlined for you. So now you have a bunch more outlines. So let's just start at the top and work our way down. So the first piece that we're gonna iron on is gonna be the flower petals. So we'll just get those into position. There we go. And now we're gonna iron our squirrel. Now I wanna point out that we wanna iron in a particular order because we're gonna iron the squirrel, then we'll do the top and bottom of our spool, then we'll do the brown, and then we'll do the orange. So we wanna make sure, because they do layer down here, that we iron it on in the right order. So our little squirrel, so cute. We have a squirrel here at our office outside that we see because there's a bunch of trees outside, and it does the weirdest thing where it like lays flat out, like all 4 legs flat. It's the strange, I've never seen a squirrel do that. It's so bizarre to us. And just in the middle of the parking lot is where he does it. It's just a strange little animal. And we'll hear him running on the roof too, which is funny because it's a metal roof. All right, and now we're going to put the bottom of our little spool on. There we go. And now we'll do the brown stem. And then the final piece on this step is gonna be that orange pumpkin. So cute, and don't you love it's only one piece? I love when the pumpkins are all just one piece. Makes life easy. There we go. Perfect, so now we're gonna put this back on. Again, keep that white thread on your machine, and the machine is gonna give us an outline for the little squirrel arm and the leaf. Okay, so now let's iron on those 2 final pieces. So we have our little squirrel arm. Get that right in place. There we go, and final piece, our little leaf. So cute. I love this little Itsy Bitsy. Mom always comes up with such fun ideas for these, and I really love how quick and easy these are to do. In just a matter of like, what, half an hour, you have a whole project done. So now we're gonna do our first color change, and that is to brown, which is 11:30, and the machine is going to do a whole bunch of stitching for us, and then we'll be back to do a few more color changes. We're gonna go in the order of brown, gold, green, and orange. So now the machine has stitched all of your brown. It looks so good. I just love it. I have one little, I held my thread at the beginning, so I'm gonna trim that. Now we're going to load the gold color 0567, and the machine will very quickly do our flower. Now our flower is totally stitched, and it's time to do a color change to green, and I'm using 1278. So now you're almost done. All of your green is stitched, and the final color change that we're gonna do is the orange, and then we'll be back to trim everything up. Yay! Now everything is done on your embroidery machine, so it's time to trim everything up. Ooh, I have a little thread. There we go. So just take your hoop off to the side, and we are gonna trim the front and back of our project. So what you're gonna do is trim right along that stitched line. And what I've done is I just put a rotary mat and get the rotary cutter. I just put it right on top of my Steady Betty. There we go. Just make sure your rotary mat is nice and sturdy so you don't cut through it or anything. And there we go. And now this design, the bottom does get put into your binding. So your binding is gonna go over that. And then we're gonna trim right here. Excuse me. My little cough from a week ago is just staying with me. Okay, and then trim that. And now let's trim the back. Isn't that just gonna be so cute? I love this one. Well, I must say I always love them. They're just so cute. And they're fun. I think I'll take this one home with me today. I've started putting out all my pumpkins and stuff. So I have a little bit of fall going on. Mostly Halloween is what I'm decorating for right now. But this little guy is gonna already go out. Or actually, I might wait and put him out a couple more weeks because I still have the last month's Halloween one in my house. So maybe I won't switch it out just yet. It's gonna be so cute. I always host, my husband and I host Thanksgiving every year. So this will definitely be out for that. And then what I'm gonna do is just remove my stabilizer. Get that, it just tears right off. There we go. And you can, you know, really tear up all the way to the piece. I'm just doing it quickly for the video. So the back is totally done. Doesn't that look so nice? I love it. And now I do want to tell you on the front, obviously peel your stabilizer off the front as well, but you'll notice that your little squirrel needs an eye, and it's just a French knot. So just in case you don't know a French knot, I'm gonna show you how to do one. So I have my thread and my needle, and it's knotted at the end. So I'm just gonna come up where I want his little eye. And then what you do, so I have my needle coming up. Let me make sure I'm centered. Yep, you can see me. So now what I do is I'm a right-handed person, so I have my needle in my right hand. I take my left hand and I hold the thread, and then I put my needle and I just wrap around the needle. Now I'm going around 3 times because I want a big old French knot. And then you just go down directly by where you came up with your thread, and then I'm holding tension on this, trying to show you and hold it. That's kind of hard. So I have my thumb over it so that I'm keeping the tension, and then you pull it through, and look at that. You have a perfect French knot, easy as can be. And then you'll just knot it on the back. Now I would tear my stabilizer off first before I do my French knot, just because it's gonna be a little harder to tear around your French knot without disrupting it. But there you go. And then you just trim, and you have a perfect French knot. Now for my French knot, I used a Sulky 12 weight hand embroidery thread. What color did I use? 1234. It's kind of a gray brown color, but it stands out nicely. And that's not the same color as this, is it? No, that's 1130. I was like, how funny if I picked the same color. But if you don't have hand embroidery thread or floss, don't worry. You can use your 40 weight rayon, and you might just want to go around the needle a few more times when you're making that French knot to get a nice deep French knot. I like big French knots. So now all you would need to do is put these together and do your binding. We have a video tutorial for this single fold binding because remember, it's not the traditional binding. It's a amended way to do the binding, single fold binding, so you eliminate a ton of bulk on a small project, because doing binding on a small project can be kind of tricky. And then you also have your hang tag fabric. I'll give you a quick preview of how you set that up. Let me set this aside. There we go. Sorry for the blank camera shot while I did that. So I'm just gonna press it flat. And then this is so easy to turn it into a little hanging sleeve. Just guesstimate a 1/4 inch, fold it in once, fold it in twice, and press. And then repeat on this side. There we go. So this gives you a nice finished edge. And so now, ooh, that's hot, hot, hot. So now, with it still folded, then you fold it in half lengthwise, like this. And so what you would do is put this raw edge up against the raw edge of the back, right here, and baste that into place. Just lightly whip stitch it at the bottom, and then you have a perfect little hanging sleeve for your little act-filled wire frame. So easy peasy to do all this. I hope that you enjoyed this video tutorial. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to comment and reach out. We're always happy to help. Happy stitching!